guys, so today's video is going to be a little bit different than what I normally do because as you are watching this, I'm actually out of the state for a week. So I went ahead and just pre-recorded a couple videos so I could still post once a week while I was gone visiting family. But today's video is going to be more of a story time video. I know that I've mentioned a couple times in the past that Zsasz has had to have surgery before, so I just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about that because it was a very long and exhausting process getting her to the point of finding out that she even needed the surgery to begin with. So let's start from the beginning. So I got Zsasz when she was about 3 to 4 months old. She came from a pet store that I've mentioned before, just kind of told me that they were the easiest thing in the world to take care of and that she was basically just going to be super easy and gave me very little information. So when I got Zsasz home, she was perfectly fine for the first 2 to 3-ish months. And at about that 3-month mark, she started getting sick. Like, she just started acting different. She had like black stress lines down her body. She wouldn't eat. She just kind of laid around where normally she would run around all the time. So I did some research and I found out that bearded dragons are very prone to parasites. So I found a vet about 25 minutes from my house that said that they specialize in exotic animals and birds. So I went to that vet thinking that they would, you know, fix everything, make everything okay, because that supposedly was their specialty. So we got to that vet and the vet basically did a fecal test. I had to bring in some of her poop in a little baggie and they did a fecal test. And they basically said that she had 3 or 4 different kinds of parasites and I was going to have all this medicine. And I was like, okay. So I trusted what they said because they were supposed to be specialists. And they had really good reviews when I was looking them up. So I didn't think anything about it. So treated her for the parasites, brought her back for a checkup. They said she still had parasites. So got medicine again. They said that one of the parasites were gone, but she still had all these other parasites. Took her home with more medicine and treated her again. Took her back this is the 3rd time now. And they're saying, nope, she still has these parasites. And from what I'm reading online, it's just 1 or 2 doses and it's done and they don't have parasites anymore. And they ask me all these questions about her habitat and I tell them, they're like, oh, everything's fine. And this time they asked for me to keep her there overnight so that they could monitor her because not only were the parasites not going away, but she was getting worse. So she was literally to the point where she would just lay around all day. She wouldn't touch food, she wouldn't drink water. I gave her baths to try to keep her hydrated. I gave her baths every single day and they told me that she was still dehydrated because she had wrinkles on her skin, which I later found out that bearded dragons have wrinkles. It's normal. It's completely normal for them to have wrinkles on their skin. But they gave me all this conflicting information and I had to keep her there overnight and pay to board her overnight. So this is now 3 vet visits and a boarding that I'm having to pay for parasites. So I picked her up the next day. They say she still has parasites. She didn't do any better while she was there. Basically, they have no other answers for me and her being there was a waste. So at that point, I got tired of going to that vet because I felt like they didn't know what they were talking about. There was a couple really big red flags that I realized after, like looking back at it. Like they would ask me about keeping her on sand and they would ask me about feeding her spinach and tell me it's okay to feed her romaine lettuce, and they would just do all these little things that later I realized none of that was okay and that I should have gone to a different vet after the first couple visits, the first visit. But I didn't know any better because she was my first reptile and I thought that I could trust them because they said they were specialists. So then we found the vet that we're currently going to, and they are absolutely fantastic. Like when we were going through all this stuff, as soon as we would walk in the door, they would know if her coloring was off, they would remember who she was, they would call and check on her. Like they're just absolutely the best. During the time the doctor was in there, other doctors would come in because they were just so happy with having a bearded dragon in there, which they also often see reptiles. They just don't market themselves as a reptile specialist like the other one did. But after going there and meeting the doctor, they were very, very knowledgeable about reptiles, and I found out that they actually did surgeries and saw reptiles all the time. And I even saw a picture of a little leopard gecko having to have surgery, which was the saddest thing, but also the sweetest thing that I've ever seen. Anyway, so we took Zsasz there. Very first visit, they're asking me questions. I'm saying, well, this other vet said this, and they're like, no, that's that's completely wrong, and they're basically telling me that everything that this other vet told me was wrong. And not only that, but I found out that the medications that they had Zsasz on at the other vet were out of date and no longer used by veterinarians. As soon as I told her the name of the medicine, and I don't remember the name of the medicine now, if I find that information, I'll put it down in the description, and if not, I'm sorry. I don't remember what it was called. But basically, she told me, she asked me what the medication was, and when I told her, she's like, well, that's not why it's not working. That's not used anymore in veterinary medicine for reptiles. Like, it doesn't work, so they stopped using it years ago. So she prescribes medication, and she wants to see us back in like 2 weeks or whatever it was. We took her back in 2 weeks. All of her parasites were gone. However, Zsasz didn't get any better. So already this has been the span of a few months. So at this point, Zsasz is already like 6-7 months old, and she's still not eating. So all of her parasites are gone. The vet's looking at her, and she's like, she's very well hydrated. They also ended up keeping her overnight there at one point, but theirs was completely free. The doctor just was really perplexed about what was going on and wanted to monitor her, which is also important to note. At this place, when they keep a reptile overnight, they actually have full setups for those reptiles to stay in the night. They're sanitary setups, so it's not like full of things like this, but it's actually, they're actually setups with the proper lighting and everything. At the other place, I found out afterwards that they kept her in a tub with a heat pad, and that was it. No lighting, nothing. But anyway, so they keep her overnight, and I come back the next day, and they're thinking that she might have adenovirus, which, if you don't know what adenovirus is, it's also called the stargazing virus. You've probably seen reptiles with it before, at least pictures of them. It's like a muscular disorder, and they don't eat, and basically they can die. A lot of bearded dragons actually have adenovirus, but they don't have symptoms of it, and then when they reproduce, that virus gets passed down to babies, and so you could bring home a bearded dragon with this virus and never know. So for a little while they were really concerned that's what it was, but she did tell me basically that if that was what she had, that there was nothing that they could do about it. They could just keep treating the symptoms. So they had me give her a probiotic, which from what I was reading on forums, it actually helped their other people's bearded dragons a lot, but for Zsasz it wasn't doing anything. So one day in the beginning of April, we took her in again, and they kept her overnight again, no charge, and they said that she was doing something kind of weird where she was glass surfing. Zsasz is always glass surfed. Zsasz glass surfed from the moment that I got her when she was about 3 months old. So to me, that wasn't anything different because that's just something that she did. Even now, that's the reason that her background goes all the way down to the ground and it's on the inside, is because she does glass surf a lot. Every time I take her to, it's also very important to note, they would feel around on her belly and they never could feel anything. So at this point, they asked if it was okay if we took an x-ray, and basically they said if they couldn't find anything on the x-ray, they wouldn't charge for it, and they just wanted to kind of see, because maybe there was something there. And on that x-ray, she had over 30 calcified eggs in her body. At this point, she was only about 9 months old, which isn't normal. With female bearded dragons, they usually get lay boxes or dig boxes in their tanks at about a year old. She was only about 9 months old at this point, and she had already somehow made all these eggs, and they had already calcified in her body, which is called egg binding or dystocia, I think is how you say it, which is in no way unheard of. It's just not the most common thing to happen. So she was taken into surgery that very same day, and they removed a little over 30 calcified eggs from her body, and they removed her reproductive organs as well, just so that this problem wouldn't happen in the future. But basically, it came down to the fact that she was so young, and they didn't think that that would be something to even look into because she was so young. And the fact that she kept getting parasites over and over and over again, she was not able to lay those eggs. And she wouldn't dig. Like normally if a bearded dragon is ready for a dig box, they just start digging. They try to dig. She didn't do that. I mean, she glass surfed, but that was it. And then she had to get surgery, and like I still feel bad about it because like I feel like if she had a dig box, maybe it wouldn't have happened. But at the same time, it's hard to know if a dragon is that much under, because this started happening when she was about 6 months old. So from 6 months to 9 months old, she was sick all the time. So it's just crazy to me that she was that young and then that happened. So after surgery, we still had to go down a really bumpy road because she didn't recover the best from it. She woke up just fine. It was no problems with the anesthesia, but she still wouldn't eat. She still kind of lazed around. And I mean, right after surgery, those things are normal, but this lasted for another couple months. And basically I was having to feed her carnivore care. And this is something that I had to do every single day for months before she would finally eat. So that was very stressful because at that time too, I was working full time. My husband was working full time. We have children, and having to sit down and hand feed her out of a syringe every day, especially on days that she just did not want anything to do with food, and we'd have to wrap her in a towel and she would panic the whole time. And it was absolutely heartbreaking, and it was so stressful. But all that was about a year ago, because that was April 2017 that she had that surgery, and then it took her a few months to recover. She's doing fantastic now. She's back to eating everything that she can fit in her mouth, and she's still not active. I don't know if it's just because she is older or if it's just something to do with after that. I don't know. She's very lazy. If I take her out, she just lazes around. So like I said, that was a little over a year ago, and that was one of the things that I was talking about in that Bearded Dragon care video, that vet bills can come out of nowhere and very unexpected, and that was very expensive. I mean, you can imagine how much it costs to have surgery on a lizard. But I'm so happy that we did it, and I'm so happy that she's better now. In the end, it was definitely worth it to have my Zsasz back. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed kind of a sit-down story time video. This is a video that I wanted to make anyway, and I thought it'd be easier to go ahead and just make it and have it edited for when I am out of town, which is now if you're watching this. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.